Does your motorcycle really need a front brake? This is a long debated topic, and after 20 years of chopping bikes, I'm going to share my opinion on why you may or may not need that front brake. Now, to be clear, I primarily build choppers. Choppers are for cruising, not necessarily needing to corner insanely well or stop on a dime. Now, obviously, you're not going to hear anybody out there souping up a Hayabusa saying, no, you don't need front brakes, because that's a sport bike. And you need that stuff for good cornering, and it's a really holistic approach to that machine. Now with choppers, the whole vibe is usually very minimal, and it's more of an individual expression of who's riding the bike than it is a build for specific performance needs and handling and silly things like braking. Now, where did the whole trend of not having a front brake come from? First off is the obvious aesthetic choice. Primary reason for removing a front brake is the desire for a very clean handlebar look, which very much so aligns with the minimalist chopper aesthetic that is associated with a chopper style. Now, the word itself, chopper, means you're cutting things off, you're removing things. The bikes are not really designed, typically in chopper fashion, to be these insane racing machines. They're long front ends, they're not easy to handle, they're loud, they're noisy, they're dirty. Removing a front brake really, I think, began as more of an aesthetic. It's also a way to cut cost. It's one less thing to maintain on the machine, one less thing to go wrong. I'm sure the question a lot of you have in your heads, why the hell would you want a bike that doesn't always work the way it's supposed to? Well, chopper culture is very well known for putting fashion over function. Oftentimes you go to a motorcycle custom show and you see bikes that look like they would be excruciating to ride for a half a mile. The seat is the size of a small avocado, the bars are in an impossibly uncomfortable state, and turning the bike would require 3 to 4 people picking it up and spinning at 180. The whole customization removal of the front brake isn't necessarily done from a, oh, because it works better standpoint. It's oftentimes just to go for a look. If you have a beautiful spool front wheel, that will stand out if you don't have a giant brake disc on the front or a brake drum. Back in the 50s and 60s, a lot of motorcycle technology was pretty rough, and I can't imagine that the front brakes on those were tip-top like they are today. You know, you've got brands like Brembo out there pushing braking technology. They didn't really have that back then. So in the rear, you would have a drum or a single disc. Perhaps you would have a juice brake in the rear, but the technology really wasn't amazing. So losing your front brake most likely wasn't a huge loss to guys back then. And that aesthetic really has carried through chopper style. You know, just take some time to look at custom bikes at shows. The foot pegs are minuscule, 2 inches long, and the shifter is behind where your foot sits. It's not even about the ease and function of it, because no one's out there building a lazy boy for a custom chopper. They're building an art piece, an expression of their own view of how choppers should or shouldn't look. From a safety standpoint, riding without a front brake could be dangerous, but guess what? A chopper is already an insanely dangerous machine, so removing the front brake really isn't pushing the envelope that much more. While not running a front brake is not really, I guess you would call a standard practice, every bike you're gonna pick up off of a showroom floor or straight from a dealer is gonna have front and rear brakes. It's a requirement by the government and the powers that be. There are options out there for front brakes if you do want to run one. You can stick with your stock configuration. There are little tiny drum brakes called chopper stoppers. They have a drum about yay big, and they are connected to a cable, and that's the front brake. They're a little more of a minimalist look, but you still are running that brake lever on the right side of the handlebars. You're gonna have to run a cable down to the drum itself. Another thing that people do is just leave a disc brake, and it's fantastic stopping power. Some people will run a dual disc brake system. That's even more stopping power. Overall, you've got a handful of choices for your front brake, not a whole lot. And when it comes to building a bike that looks aesthetically pleasing, generally in the chopper world, you're gonna go with no front brake. This whole aesthetic actually led me to, want to clean up the handlebars on my first bike. From there, I designed the single cable throttle assembly, which removes the push cable from the throttle assembly. It allows you to get rid of the brake lever, the master cylinder that's up on the bars, and just create a much cleaner cockpit on that bike. It's actually one of our best-selling products to date, and there are 2 versions available. One comes with a throttle lock. It's just a thumb wheel that you can turn, and set a little cruise control. The other version does not have the lock. And in a few minutes, I'm gonna show you guys how easy it is to achieve that chopper front end look. So why run without a front brake? One, it's chopper style. It's the aesthetic, and it gives you clean bars and a real smooth looking cockpit. 2, less shit to go wrong. 3, let's say you put a nice long chopper front end on that bike. Well, you're gonna have to upgrade the brake line. You may have to get different brakes. It's more expense. 4, if you're just cruising, not riding like an asshat, you don't need insane stopping power. 5, spool wheels look hella cool without a brake on. 6, you can use engine braking to slow down. In fact, even if I have a front brake, I usually use engine braking more often than not. 7, personal preference. It's like, why do you wear a black shirt versus a green shirt? It's a personal preference. You like the look. Now, why would you want to run a front brake? Well, number 1, you freaking want to. Plain and simple. You like it versus not having one. Number 2, 70% of stopping power can come from a properly tuned front brake. Number 3, sport bikes, for instance, much bigger heavy baggers, racing bikes, they can be necessary due to a much higher powered engine and the propensity for going fast. So you need to be able to brake into a turn, drop the front end. It's more of a whole experience with that front and rear brake that's necessary for the riding style. 4, you find yourself in situations where an endo will get you laid. Definitely need a front brake for that. And number 5, you like the look and you prefer the front brake, you're happy with it. Now, this is such a heavily debated topic. Over the years, it has come and gone, but the fact remains people are going to argue about this. I want to hear from you guys what you prefer on your bike. Front, rear brake, how you like to have things set up, whether you think having a front brake is necessary or not. Let me know in the comments. Now I'm gonna head over to a bike and show you guys what I think is the easiest way to remove a front brake system. You can actually do this if you're gonna service the brake as well. Whether you're gonna leave it off or reinstall it, let's get going. Loosen these. Put my catch can underneath here. I might catch something, might catch nothing. Oh, we got a little bit. There's not much left in this thing. So what I am gonna do though, help my cause, I'm gonna get this plastic baggie I have here. Just gonna shove that in there like that. Oh, look at that, beautiful. I'm gonna get a zip tie, TI, titanium. These are unbreakable. That's the only reason I use them. There we go, out of the way. Now we can remove this all the way. Let's keep pulling these bolts out. Okay, there we go, it's off. Put it in my bucket here. I need to get a paper towel, oh no, wasting time. Now I'm gonna take this off. Oh no, it's stuck. Okay, I gotta get another tool. Huh. Loose. Oh, I can't get the sockets off because my hands are all greasy now. It's all the whale blubber. There we go, that bolt's out. I'm rushing, but in all reality, I'm probably gonna end this with like 2 minutes to spare. Enough time to go make a cup of coffee and come back. These are the 2 wires that go to the rear brake light. So when you pull the brake lever, that's going to activate the rear brake light. We are gonna maintain our rear brake pedal right here, which activates the drum brake. This also has a brake switch on it, which will activate the rear brake light as well. So we don't really need this one. We're just gonna unplug it. When you address your wiring, you don't need to connect these. You can actually cut them off at the source, cap them, or you can just tuck these in somewhere where they don't look bad. So now we're gonna thread this up through here, bring our colostomy bag with it. What? What's up? What's up? That's right. Done. One more thing. You will be left with the brake rotor, the disc right here. You can take this off. To remove this, while the brake's still intact, take the wheel off, hold the brake down, and unscrew all these while it's on the bike. That is the easiest chopper modification to do in under 5 minutes. As we all know, cool chopper guys don't need to stop. All you need to do is get the bike started and go. So we're gonna completely remove the whole brake assembly. It's all gone. We don't need it. That's actually how we're gonna run this bike. We're gonna put some extensions on and we're gonna run no front brake. We will, however, have the rear brake. You do wanna maintain that rear drum. As long as you maintain it, you're good to go. Guys, we're working hard every day to bring you new content. If you don't wanna miss any of it, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And if you like this here hat, there we go, which I think is outstanding if I don't say so myself, you can get it at tjbrutalcustoms.com. We also just released our extra small thongs. We did not have a female model to show those to you guys, but we got a nice guy with a tight ass. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.